I still haven't gone back to doing night deliveries. Not after what happened on Meridian Road. I was 18 at the time, working for a sandwich shop called Sal's About, 2 blocks from my house in a small town in Ohio. It was one of those places that stayed open until midnight on weekends, mostly because the college kids nearby liked ordering late. I'd been working there for about 4 months. It was easy money, and I liked driving, so deliveries were always my pick over working the register. Most nights were totally unremarkable. Drive out. Hand over the food, collect the tip, come back. Repeat. The strangest thing that had ever happened before this was a guy answering the door in a full Halloween costume in the middle of March. That was it. That was the extent of the weirdness, until the night of the Meridian Road order. It came in around 11:15, a large turkey club, a bag of chips, and a bottle of water. Small order. The address was out on Meridian Road, which I recognized as being on the far edge of town. Probably a 12-minute drive. I'd never delivered out there before. I didn't think much of it. I boxed everything up, grabbed the bag, and headed out. The drive started normal. I had the radio on low, some late-night talk show. The streets were pretty empty, typical for a Tuesday in a small Ohio town. I turned onto Meridian Road, and that's when things started feeling slightly off. The road itself was fine. 2 lanes. A few old oak trees lining either side, but almost immediately every house I passed had its lights off. Not unusual for 11 at night, sure. But it wasn't just that they were dark. It was the way they looked dark. Like the kind of dark where you instinctively feel like something is wrong and you can't explain why. I told myself I was tired. I kept driving until I found the address. It was the last house on the road before it dead-ended into a field. The house had a single light on. Just one window on the ground floor, glowing this dim yellowish color. There was a car in the driveway, an old sedan, tan-colored, so someone was home. Fine. I grabbed the bag and walked up to the front door. The porch light was off. I knocked. Nobody answered. I waited about 20 seconds and knocked again. Louder. Still nothing. But here's the thing. That light in the window was still on. The car was still there. Whoever ordered this food was inside. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number on the order. It rang twice. Then someone picked up and said nothing. Just silence on the line. I said, "Hey, this is Sal's. Your delivery is here at the front door." More silence. And then I heard something that I genuinely cannot explain, even now. It was a voice, but it wasn't coming from the phone. It was coming from inside the house just behind the door, and it said my name. Not delivery guy, not 1 second. My name, my actual first name. Ryan. I had never been to this address before in my life. The name on the order was just listed as T. Morris. I didn't know a T. Morris. I still don't. I stepped back from the door immediately. My heart was going fast. I told myself maybe I misheard it. Maybe they said something that just sounded like my name. I called out, "Hello?" and waited. The yellow light in the window went out, just like that. Dark. And in the second after it went out, I saw something in the window. A silhouette. Someone standing just inside right behind the glass. Completely still. Just standing there. Watching me. I put the bag down on the porch and walked back to my car. Not running, but close. I got in, locked the doors, started the engine. As I was pulling out of the driveway, my phone buzzed. A text from the number on the order. No words. Just a single period. I drove back to Sal's without looking in my rearview mirror once. I told my manager what happened. He laughed it off and said some customers were just weird. He called the number back and got a voicemail saying the number was not in service. The next day, I looked up the address. According to county records I found online, that house had been listed as uninhabited for over 2 years. The previous owner had passed away. No one had purchased it or rented it since. I quit working night shifts the following week. I told my manager it was for school. That wasn't the real reason. To this day, I don't know who answered that phone. I don't know whose silhouette that was in the window. And I will never understand how they knew my name. That was just the beginning. The next incident will make you question the shadows in your own room. People always ask me why I moved out of my first apartment after only 3 months. I usually just say the rent went up. That's easier than the truth. I was 22, fresh out of community college, working a night shift stocking job at a grocery store in suburban Pennsylvania. I'd finally saved up enough to get my own place. A small 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor of a 6-unit building on Callaway Street. It wasn't a great area, but it wasn't bad either. Quiet street, mostly older tenants. A guy named Dennis lived below me. He was in his 60s, retired, friendly enough. I moved in on a Saturday in late October and spent the first 2 weeks basically just working, sleeping, and eating. Nothing unusual happened at first. The apartment was fine, a little cold maybe. The radiator made noise at night. Normal stuff. The first thing I noticed, and I dismissed it immediately, was the smell. Every few nights when I came home from my shift around 2 a.m., he'd walk down the hallway to my apartment and catch this faint smell right in front of my door. Floral, like an old perfume. It was always gone by the time I was inside. I figured it was a neighbor's air freshener bleeding into the hall. Totally reasonable. But then came the sounds. About 3 weeks in, I started hearing something from inside my apartment while I was lying in bed trying to sleep. It was a low, rhythmic sound, almost like humming. At first I thought it was coming from outside. A car, a machine somewhere nearby. But when I'd sit up and listen, it seemed like it was in the room with me. Not loud, just barely there. Like someone standing in the corner, making the quietest possible sound. I checked my phone, my radio, my laptop. Everything was off. The humming would last maybe 60 seconds, and then stop. This happened 4 nights in a row. On the 5th night, I decided to sleep with the light on. That was the night I saw it. I was on my side facing the wall, not quite asleep yet, when I noticed the shadow. My bedroom had one overhead light and no windows on the wall I was facing, so the shadows in the room were pretty predictable. I'd stared at that wall enough nights to know exactly what it looked like. But that night, there was a shadow that shouldn't have been there. It was tall, thin, pressed against the wall near the far corner of the room. It wasn't moving. I didn't move either. I lay completely still, staring at it. My brain was running through every explanation. Coat on the door, something on the dresser, a trick of light. But I'd left nothing near that corner. The corner was empty. I'd cleaned that week. I watched it for what felt like 2 full minutes. Then slowly, and I mean very slowly, it shifted. Not dramatically, just a slight lean. Like a person shifting their weight from one foot to the other. I threw the blanket off and turned on every light in the apartment. The corner was empty. Nothing there. I checked every room, every closet. I even looked under the bed. Nothing. But the humming had stopped that night, and the smell, that floral smell, was inside the apartment now. Strong. Right in the middle of the room. I called my mom at 2:30 in the morning and talked to her for an hour without telling her what had actually scared me. Things escalated from there. 2 nights later, I came home from work and found my kitchen chair pulled out from the table. Not dramatically, just enough that I noticed. I'd pushed all 4 chairs in that morning. I always do that. It's just a habit. One of them was pulled out about 8 inches. That was it. Nothing else moved. Nothing missing. Just the chair. The night after that, I woke up at exactly 3 a.m. No alarm, no noise. I just opened my eyes, and for a moment before I fully came to, I saw something at the foot of my bed. A shape. Low, like someone crouching. I blinked and it was gone. But my blanket, which had been covering my feet, was folded back. Neatly, like someone had folded it down. I didn't sleep again that night. I went to Dennis the next morning and, without going into too much detail, I asked him if anyone had ever mentioned strange things happening in the building. He got quiet. Then, he told me that the apartment I was in 3B had belonged to a woman named Elaine for almost 20 years. She'd passed away in her sleep about 8 months before I moved in. Natural causes. She was in her late 70s. He said she used to wear this very strong floral perfume, that everyone in the building knew the smell. He said she used to hum to herself constantly, old songs, quiet ones, just under her breath while she moved around her apartment. I was out of that apartment within 3 weeks. I don't know what I saw in that corner. I don't know what folded that blanket. But I know the smell, and I know the humming. And I know that someone had lived and died in those walls, and whatever was left behind wasn't ready to leave. If your heart is already racing, take a deep breath, because our final story is the one that no one survived to tell. I've driven that highway hundreds of times since then, but I never stop at mile marker 9. Not anymore. Not after what I saw the night my car broke down. I was 24, living in rural Tennessee, working a remote customer service job from home. It was a Tuesday night in November, and I was driving back from my girlfriend's place in the next county over, about a 40-minute drive on a 2-lane highway, with almost no traffic after 10 p.m. It was a drive I'd done so many times I could practically do it in my sleep. About 18 minutes in, my car started making a sound, a grinding, shuddering thing from somewhere underneath. Then the dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. Check engine, oil pressure, temperature, all of it at once. The car started losing power and I had no choice but to pull off onto the narrow gravel shoulder and stop. I was sitting at mile marker 9. I remember it clearly because I pulled up right next to the sign. It was cold, maybe 38 degrees. No houses visible in any direction. Woods on both sides of the highway. I had about 60% battery on my phone, which felt like enough. I called a tow service, and they told me it would be roughly 90 minutes. 90 minutes, alone on the side of a dark highway, in November. I turned on my hazard lights and settled in. I had a hoodie in the back seat. Put it on. Sent a text to my girlfriend letting her know what happened. Then I sat there and scrolled on my phone, and tried not to think about how exposed I was. The first 20 minutes were fine. A few cars passed. Their headlights were almost comforting. Then traffic stopped entirely. No cars in either direction for a long stretch. Just silence, and the slow clicking of my hazard lights. I looked out into the tree line on the passenger side, and that's when I noticed the light. It was faint, bluish white, sitting deep in the trees maybe 100 feet off the road. Just a soft glow, low to the ground. My first thought was a phone screen, maybe a hiker or a hunter, but the light wasn't moving. It was completely still, and the more I stared at it, the less it looked like any artificial light source I could name. It had no defined shape. It just glowed. I watched it for a few minutes. It didn't move. I finally looked away and told myself it was probably some kind of natural reflection. Frost on leaves. Animal eyes. Something simple. Then my hazard lights stopped working. Not the car. The car was still technically on, battery running, just the hazards. They clicked twice more and went silent. The dashboard stayed lit, but the blinking orange lights just died. I tried turning them off and on again. Nothing. I was now sitting in a dark cairn in the shoulder of an unlit highway. I looked back toward the tree line. The blue light was gone. I will be honest with you. In that moment, I felt genuine, specific fear. Not "this is spooky" fear. The kind of fear where your body makes a decision before your brain does. I locked all 4 doors. I don't know why locking the doors felt like the right response to a light in the woods, but it did. And then someone knocked on my window. I nearly put my fist through the ceiling. I turned and there was a man standing outside the driver's side window. He was older, maybe 60, plain gray jacket. He was just standing there, looking at me, waiting. Not aggressive, not smiling either. Just a flat, patient expression. I cracked the window about an inch and said, "Yeah?" He said in the most even voice I've ever heard, "You shouldn't stay here. Not at this marker." I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "People who stay here after dark don't always leave the same." I asked him what he meant. I asked where he came from. I hadn't seen any car pull over. I hadn't seen him walking down the road. He was just suddenly there. He didn't answer my question. He looked out toward the tree line, toward where the light had been, and then looked back at me. He said, "When the tow truck comes, don't look back into the woods. Just go." Then he walked away, down the shoulder, back in the direction I'd come from. I watched him in my mirror until the darkness took him. There was no car, no bike, no flashlight. He just walked into the black and disappeared. My hazard lights came back on 30 seconds later. The tow truck showed up 45 minutes after that. The driver hooked up my car and I got into the cab with him. And I almost looked back. I don't know why. Maybe it was the man's warning that made me want to. But I stopped myself. I faced forward the whole time as he pulled us back onto the highway. But here's the thing. The tow driver was quiet for a while and then out of nowhere he said, "You weren't stopped at marker 9, were you?" I said yes. He nodded slowly and didn't say anything else for a long time. When I asked him what that meant, he just said, "That stretch has a history." He wouldn't say more than that, no matter how many times I pushed. I got home that night, showered, sat on the edge of my bed for a long time. I thought about the light in the woods, about the man who appeared from nowhere, about the way he knew the mile marker before I said a word, about whatever he meant, Biden leave the same. I looked up the highway online that night. Forum posts, local news, old articles. I found one thing, a small local newspaper piece from 11 years ago, archived online. It described a series of incidents near that same stretch of highway. People reporting lost time. A few who said they'd pulled over on that shoulder and couldn't account for hours. One woman who described waking up in her car facing the wrong direction with no memory of turning around. The article quoted a local historian who said the land had been considered cursed ground for over a century, that the indigenous people who'd lived in that valley long before the highway existed had called it something that roughly translated to the place that watches back. I have no logical explanation for any of what happened that night. I don't know who the man was. I don't know where the light came from. I don't know why my hazards went out and came back on. But I do know this. Every time I drive that road now, I keep my eyes forward at mile marker 9. And I never stop. These 3 stories share one thing in common. They happened to ordinary people, on ordinary nights, doing ordinary things. There was no warning, no reason, just the sudden cold realization that something was there that shouldn't be. Something that didn't follow the rules of the world, we think we understand. The delivery driver who heard his name through a dead man's door. The young man who watched a shadow breathe in an empty corner of his room. The guy stranded on a highway who was warned by a man who vanished into darkness. What would you have done? The terrifying truth is, you might never know until it happens to you. If these stories kept you up tonight, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every week we bring you more true paranormal experiences just like these. Stories that don't have clean endings, stories that stay with you, because the scariest things aren't the ones that chase you, they're the ones that wait. Sleep well.